Hey gang, this is Hank Davis from podcastdirector.com, and we're winding down on the videos that I've created for the free tutorial on, just a beginner's guide of how to get started on this stuff. Um, Definitely there are other guides that are out there and such, but I was just trying to put together something that was basic enough for somebody that's just getting started, not overwhelming, and encourage them to play around with this stuff, because ultimately you're going to have to know how to do this stuff, and the only way you're going to figure this stuff out is if you do it. But I can give you a tour of all the stuff I use and what I do, and then after that it's up to you. So on the software front, if you click the link underneath this video, you can try out the software that I'm using in this, and that's the software I use to edit nearly all of the 3,000 audio files I've created in my life. But if you want to use some other software, that's fine, but this tutorial is based on that software. The reason why I use the one I use is when I started podcasting back in '06, there weren't a lot of programs out there that I liked. There was a ton of programs, but they just weren't intuitive, or they were expensive. I didn't want to spend a bunch. So I got this for, I think, around $50, maybe less. And I love it. I love it. I have $400 audio programs in my studio, and I always use this program. What does that tell you? And people always comment on how good I can make audio sound. So if you ever listen to a raw MP3 of one of my podcasts, you'll get a taste of what I'm doing with this program. All right, so if you're using this program, I'm going to give you a rundown on what's going on here. So if we want to start a new file, we can hit new file right up here. And then we can choose our parameters. Sample rate, I always just leave it on 44,100. Mono or stereo. If you're just doing voice, you can do mono. But if we're going to add music and such in the background, sometimes I just keep it on stereo. I'll just keep it checked. I don't really hear that much of a difference, but it's all right. If I play something in the car, I do. But just at the desk or on the phone and such, not really. All right, so let's click OK. So that brings up this window here. And then there's a little record button in the lower right, or lower left, sorry. And we can click on that. And it's going to bring up this little control panel here. And it's under recording. It's going to specify the device where it's recording from, the input, the volume, advanced settings under here, where you can have voice activated recording, auto trim recording, auto start recording. I don't need any of this stuff going right now. Oops. So I'm going to uncheck these and do that. But that auto voice recording, auto voice activated recording, that is awesome for filtering out like long pauses and such. Very cool. But we're just going to say that all these specifications are fine. And let's hit the record button. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of podcastdirector.com, audio editing services.com, the show that you just have to tune in to hear every week. So once we close that down, we've got our ridiculous audio file right here, so we can play it back a little bit. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of podcastdirector.com, audio editing services.com, the show that you just have to tune in to hear every week. Nice. So then we've got our basic recording, and we're gonna, as you see, there's not really a noise floor on this recording. Now I'm going to show you two different ways. So let's say you did have a noise floor. It was a really terrible noise floor in here, and you could see it. It was just this little line here. Instead of it being straight across, it was just all fuzzy. And what I do is I'll get in here and I'll select about a second worth of material, or maybe a little more, a little less, doesn't matter. I go up to Effects, Noise Reduction, grab noise sample from selected area. Then I click off of that selected area so it'll go over the whole file. Go back to Effects, Noise Reduction, apply spectral subtraction based on noise sample. Now, sometimes if you have a longer file, it'll take a while. And it only really will work on static. So that's the tail end of my talking, maybe us or whatever coming through the mic. So it primarily works on that, and it can actually add artifacts to the recording. And it's a weird, like, underwater sound it can add to the recording. But if you have some heavy duty noise to get rid of, you can do that first. Then you can come up and you can automatically gain control of the whole file. And that kind of brings it up to line level. A lot of podcasts I tune into, I listen to for just a few seconds before I turn off, and they'll just be whispering. And you're like, I can't hear a word they're saying. And that's because they don't bring it up to line level. When you're recording, you should be trying to hit. Don't peak. Don't go past 0. But you should be trying to hit at least -12, preferably like -6. Between -6, -3. Just should be loud. Should be resonant. So after that, say you have a real noisy file, follow me over here. You see this little noise reduction button right there? You can use that to remove hum and hiss. The bad thing about this, though, when you're talking, you'll still hear that hum or hiss. When you're not talking, it'll completely erase the hum and hiss, which is what we would want. But some people don't like it. It sounds unnatural because you'll be talking and then it's dead silence. Then you'll be talking, it's dead silence. Some people like that hush along the way, so they don't do any noise removal. So it kind of just depends on your taste. But you can also access that same process that I was just showing you on the little toolbar through the menu. So you go to Effects, Noise Reduction, and then it'd be Apply Multiband Noise Gating. So let's say we want to adjust this, because if we go 0, it's going to get rid of, well, I'll show you. It'll be too harsh. Look at that. It just kills the file. So let's undo that. So let's get in there and we will go to, let's try -30 dB. So anything under that -30 dB, it's going to wipe out. So you see it kind of messed with the files. So we'll see, and we'll take a listen. So let's listen to the silent part. And it's very silent. So hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of PodcastDirector.com, audio editing services.com, the show that you just have to tune in to hear every week. So let's get past that ridiculous intro. But if you are a person that likes no background noise, then you'll like doing those processes. And I would do them in that order. I would get the file, import the file, open the file. Then I would select a small little chunk of space, maybe up to a second and a half. And I would go to Effects, Noise Reduction, grab sample. I would do that one first. Then I would bring it up. Bring the volume up via automatic gain control. Do that second. then I would run the other noise effects. So apply multiband noise gating. I'd do that. And then after that, you want to add a little punch. You want to sound like you're on the radio and be one of those tough guys off the radio, do you? All right, then. Then you can do some dynamic range compression. So we can get in here and we can select one of the presets. We can do general voice, which will be the threshold is negative 10 dB. The ratio is 3:2 compression. The limit is plus 4 dB, which we don't really want to do that. And that's your general voice. I'll just top it off at 0. You don't want to go past that. You don't want to be peaking, or you don't want to blow somebody's ear. Or you could choose and get crazy, TV radio. So this is really aggressive. So let's do that. And you see how it squished it down? It compressed it. Now listen to this. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of PodcastDirector.com. So I don't know if it's coming through because this is a YouTube video, so I'm not sure if the compression and the punch, the cut through the signal is coming through, but it definitely sounds different locally. So right in front of me, it sounds different. So we've kind of talked about recording, because then after you've done that, you just would come up here to File and save File As, and then we can just pick something. We'll just pick something here. Let's go under Shows. Let's go under this, and we'll just call it 0001, because we're going to do 1,000 podcasts for our show throughout our lifetime. And we'll save it in MP3 format. Save that, and whoops, it's on 320. That's ridiculous. Let's go to 128, and we can do variable bitrate. This program does better at variable bitrate, and the other program does better at. Some other programs do better at constant bitrate. I mean, you could do it either way. So sometimes for variable, I will set the low end at 64 and the high end at 128. Quality at the highest, keep it in stereo. Or I could just come up here to constant and just go straight to 128. Some people do 64. Some people do 96. But I think if you're a podcaster, just go 128, because, I mean, everybody's going to get there soon anyway. And whichever one you want to choose, it's up to you. You can play around with it, see what you think sounds better. Let's do variable for me. So I've got that. So our recording has been saved. Now, how did you get your sound in there? Let me talk about that for a sec. First, you could, if you're just starting out and you're not sure if this is something you want to do, just get a USB headset. Them things are super cheap. You can buy one at Walmart or Meijer or wherever off the internet, and they're super inexpensive. You can get one of those, or there's A2 or AT2005, I believe, is one of the mics, and you can just buy like a USB mic. I think that one has USB and XLR. It's like a handheld stick mic though. But if you just get a USB headset or a USB microphone, just plug it into your computer, and then when you're setting up your recording, you would just make sure you find it for your input. So if you're under record and you were like, what device? It would show up under here, recording device. Like that. Or you could plug into the line, that little 1/8" jack into your computer. You could plug into that. And you could record via a headset or a microphone there. Well, if you use that 1/8" jack, though, it will introduce a lot of extra noise. I've noticed that in the past. So, and that's the thing you want to be a little leery of. And then I can give you some other equipment tips. If you want to take it a little bit further, you could get yourself just a tiny little mixer. There's this little tiny Yamaha mixer. It's like, I think it's got 2 microphone inputs, 4 overall inputs. It's like $50 or less. And you could just get one of those, put a regular mic into that, and then have a cord running out to your record input on your computer. You could do that, and then you'd be able to turn the volume up, down from the mixer, cough while you got the volume turned down, adjust stuff, bring in other audio sources, and things like that. It makes it a lot more flexible for you in your studio. And then if you want to take it even one step further than that, you could get a compressor limiter gate. And I really recommend those if you're going to get, somewhat serious with podcasting, because that background room noise sometimes can be ridiculous. And you just want to make sure that you have a low noise floor so that when you import your recordings, you don't have all that background static constantly going through. Because when I record directly into my computer, I can hear just a little bit of difference in that background noise than when I go through my equipment, my mixer and all that. It just sounds a little bit different. And, it's up to you. So if you're just starting out, I would just say just get a USB stick mic or headset mic, and see how you like that first. And then after a while, if you want to up the ante. You can also record into a digital recorder, and just, if you don't want to tie up the resources on your computer, you could get one of those Olympus or Roland makes an Edirol. And there's a bunch of these little digital handheld recorders that are for podcasting. You could get yourself one of those, record into that, because it has a 1/8" jack into that. And then you could just upload that file and open it in this WavePad, this audio software, and edit it the way I showed you, and save it like that. So that is an easy way to get started if you're a podcaster. A couple of things I should have shown you real quick, and I'll show you right now, is like this end where I'm laughing right at this far end over here. If I wanted to get rid of that, I would just click my mouse in front of it and then drag to the right. And then I would come up here. I can just hit cut, or on my keyboard, I can hit delete, and it's gone. Then if I ever delete something I don't want to, this undo button will do the trick. Or I can go through edit, undo, delete, and I'm back in business. So that's another little bit. Or if I ever wanted to say I'm sounding a little too loud right there, pop, 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 and say I was popping, and I want to bring that baby back down to earth, I could just tail it down. Podcast director. That's a little too much, but you get the gist. And I think that's about it for the recording side. This program is so intuitive and so simplistic for the effects and things you want to use. It makes it so much better and easier to record on something like this than, and I'm not going to name names, but there's programs I own that are, $400 or more, and they've got just so much. It's so busy. The screen is so busy. Everything's going on. It's confusing. I don't know what the heck. If I wasn't just used to using them for hours a day, I would go insane trying to find everything. But on here, I know where everything's at. It's simple. It's easy. Done. So also, this company that makes this software, they also make an ID3 tagging software that I love. It's called Stamp ID3. It used to be free. When I got it, it was free. Now it is 20 smackers, I believe. But that's not bad. So we go to where we save the file. We choose our 0001 file, because we're going to be doing thousands of them pretty soon. And we can make a title. We could say this is the, episode 1. And then artist, Hank Davis. The album could be the show title. It could be the Crazy show. Track number 1. Genre. I don't think in this one they have podcast under it, which is no big deal. You can choose other or something, whatever. And then you can choose under category. I usually will just choose like shows, or if I do my sports podcast, I choose sports, but I'll just choose shows for that. I could write out some show notes here. And then over here, this is what's cool. You can use images. So I could browse for an image. And I could say, we're going to use this image. And see, that image will now show up on somebody's MP3 player when they're playing this file. And they're going to be like, man, that's cool. Or not. We could select the date, who produced it. You know, if you're big into that, the copyright information, you could put that in there if you're paranoid. And then the URL, you could put your website's URL on there. And then you just come over here to stamp, and you stamp it. Everything you put in there, if we go away from it, then we come back to it, all that information's still there, and it's embedded now. The picture, all the metadata and stuff, embedded in the file. Very cool stuff, I think. I love it. So that's Stamp ID 3. If you hit that link underneath this video, it'll take you to their site, and I encourage you to try out their software, the WavePad, and try that. And I would put it up against some software companies that make very expensive stuff out there. I would put this program up against it because a lot of people are like, oh my goodness, you sound fantastic. What did you do that on? You know, and they think I'm using Pro Tools or something like that, and I may not be, and I'm not. So it's awesome. It's easy to use. Check it out. So then after you obviously recorded, saved, stamped, you could then upload your media file to your server. So if you're on shared hosting, shared hosts don't particularly like you to put podcasts on there, but I would say they're probably not going to stop you for the first year. So, you know, as long as you're not going crazy, and as long as your show does not get super popular, they'll probably let you slide. So you could do that, but I don't encourage that at all. At all. If I had it to do over again, I would go to Libsyn. It's Liberated Syndication. You can check out I have a link for that in this video series. I think near the top under choosing a web host. But they specifically serve media files, and you can just upload a file there just for download. They don't care how popular it gets. They don't throttle you and all that stupid stuff that a shared host will do. If, you know, if for some reason you start getting just tens of thousands of downloads, a shared hosting company's not going to like that because, you know, you're only paying $5, $6, $7 a month. So they have every right to be a little frustrated with that. I know that I got away with it for a long time. I just don't encourage anybody else to do that. Don't do it that way. But yeah, they let me slide for a while. And I had shows that were getting about 10,000 downloads at that time. And they finally just said, okay, dude, you're either going to go or we're going to make you go. No, they just asked me to, you know, think about doing something different, which they have every right to, because I'm at that point, I'm slowing down everybody else who's on the shared server. And that's not cool. That's not fair. So I was glad to move to Libsyn. And I've had shows on Libsyn that have gotten more than 60, 70,000 downloads per episode. And Libsyn never budges. And I love it. Do great stat tracking too. So if you're a podcaster, my friends, I think this is the end of the road for you. But if you're a digital content creator who is going to sell your wares online, then I have one more video for you. So just if you're on podcastdirector.com, just scroll down to the next video, and that is specifically for content creators who are going to sell their wares online. I thank you for checking out this video, and I hope it was helpful. Happy podcasting.